Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question today comes from Colby, and it is, do you think that Pulse should not have access to Nitro in Rainbow Six Siege? I can't count the amount of times I've been taken out because he was directly below me. I'm an experienced player and it still happens. So I find this discussion to be really interesting because on the one hand, you have people that really like this aspect about Pulse, being able to take someone out from directly below the objective because you were able to identify where they are, you saw that they stopped, assuming that they are droning, and then you quickly take them out from below. On top of that, I feel like most people would argue that Pulse really isn't overpowered right now. Yes, there might be some annoyances here and there, but does it deserve him getting large sweeping changes like this that really fundamentally change the way that you play as his character? On the other hand, though, that entire interaction between the Pulse player and the person that just got taken out really isn't all that interactive. When you're on the receiving end, it's not fun. It's incredibly frustrating because it feels like there really wasn't anything that you could have done differently to survive that situation. You're trying to drone out, you're trying to be a team player, trying to figure out what's going on, and to get taken out from something you can't hear, you can't see, isn't really all that fun or interactive. Now, I know that some people argue, well, you should have brought in an IQ, or you should have droned out below, identified that the pulse was there, and then dealt with that before you actually pushed up above. And those are decent arguments, but they have their own problems. You can't always bring an IQ to the situation. Sometimes you don't realize that a pulse is in the enemy team, and so you don't even think about droning from below. Having to always drone out the entire map just to be able to stop this one specific tactic seems a little bit tedious and is asking a lot of the player to be able to do that every single round. Now, with all that being said though, does he actually deserve to have the Nitro removed from his kit entirely? If they did give him access to, let's say, the impact nade, for example, that could come with its own host of problems. He does the very same thing, he identifies where someone is, and then he just simply throws the impact nade, opens up a hole, and then takes you out with his primary. Now, granted, one nice aspect about this situation is that there's finally some more interaction between offense and defense. He's having to use his primary weapon. You can now finally see him because he's opening up a hole, and so hopefully you can retaliate. And so that's one nice aspect about it, but it could create its own host of issues. If Pulse is now able to see you through a wall, know where you are, quickly open up said wall with an impact nade, instantly open it up, and then take you out, that could be terrifying. Like, that could be really scary, which is nowhere near as quick as you could do with a Nitro cell, for example. All in all, though, I'm not entirely sure. On the one hand, I really don't feel like Pulse is overpowered. I don't think that he deserves to have any crazy nerfs to him. But on the other, it seems like the main reason why people play as him is for this specific tactic, and I really got to admit that I don't like that there's hardly any interactivity between offense and defense. Every single operator in this game you can usually counter in some regard, but simply not seeing him below you because, of course, you didn't drone out below the objective really is quite frustrating. And so let me know what you guys think about this. I realize there's probably going to be a lot of mixed opinions down below, but do you think that this is warranted? Do you think it's not? Why or why not? Let me know down below. The next question comes from Colin, and it is, what do you think of Ubisoft adding where you can turn on or off the option to enter matches that are already started? I constantly get put in games that have already started and it gets annoying. That would actually be a really cool feature. Now, I don't really know how that would change the matchmaking itself because I think more people would rather get into games faster. But if there was an option that you could toggle on and off and it gave you the ability and really the decision, do I want to have longer queue times or do I want to get into a game quicker? Just having that available, I think would be a cool step in the right direction. What I would kind of like to see though is implementing a system that recognizes players that are leaving these casual games constantly. Now, I get it. Life happens. Sometimes you join a casual game. Maybe you are about to play with some friends. You wanted to jump on in for a few rounds. They said, hey, let's get started, and then you leave. I get that. I don't think that this should be ranked where if you leave a game, you should have like a 30-minute cooldown to be able to queue. But I think if Ubisoft kind of took some steps to recognize these players that are leaving games constantly, maybe they can put them in a separate queue with other people that do that as well. Now, I'm not saying that if you leave a game like twice a day, say that that should happen to you, but there are definitely people out there, and I'm sure you've experienced this, where as soon as they spawn peek at the beginning of a match, they get taken out for whatever reason, and then they leave. They re-queue and they just kind of rinse and repeat. I feel like they should try to curb that kind of behavior. And so all in all, yeah, I think this is a great idea. I think that this could have some value. I know it's very frustrating to join a game that's halfway through, especially at the start of a round, so you have to wait 4 minutes to be able to even get into the action. And I think that this could be a nice feature introduced into Siege. The next question comes from Jack, and it is, why do you think that the year 4 roadmap is taking much longer to come out than other years? I'm probably just as surprised as you guys are, especially considering they've been selling the year 4 season pass, and we have really no idea what's going to be happening for this next year. Now, granted, we do know that there are going to be 8 operators, which really is the main reason why people actually purchase the season pass, but anything other than that, we really are in the dark. I think it really comes down to a couple of reasons why they've been so secretive. Either maybe this next season is going to be a little bit more disappointing or have less content that we're accustomed to. What I'm kind of hoping for, and I realize not everyone's going to agree with me on this, is to have more co-op gameplay. At the start of year 3, we got Operation Outbreak, and I think for the most part, that was Ubisoft trying to test the waters to see if this was something that people would like. And I think for the vast majority, it was fairly successful. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of replayability to it, but if they were able to expand upon that idea and actually give us more realistic scenarios with our favorite operators and kind of expand upon the universe that we've grown to love, have some character interactions, have some really short story co-op missions, I think that would be amazing. Ubisoft could even throw us a curveball and go a completely different direction and bring us something completely new and different. We're really just gonna kind of have to wait and see. In general though, I'm right there with you. I have no idea why they've been so secretive about it, especially when you compare it to past roadmaps. They came out a lot sooner than this one. And so either this could mean a lot, maybe they have something big in store, or it could mean absolutely nothing and they just plan on doing exactly what they've been doing with past seasons. The next question is, are you worried about Anthem's endgame? I gotta admit, now that they've officially revealed what the endgame is going to entail, it really doesn't fill me with confidence. If you're not aware, the endgame of Anthem is going to consist of 3 different strongholds. One of them is in the demo right now, so we've already played one. There is going to be repeatable daily story or legendary contracts, and then there of course is the open world events and world bosses. On paper, I gotta admit, that doesn't really sound all that significant. I think what it's really gonna come down to, though, and if this game is gonna have any longevity whatsoever, is are the open world events and the exploration significant? We really haven't seen that component of the game. We've been able to explore a little bit of it in the demo, but we haven't been able to see the full map. And so, if there are a lot of world bosses, and there's a lot of things to do and explore and find the mysteries of this world, I think it's going to be a fantastic experience. But if it's really minimalistic and there's not really a whole lot fleshed out in this universe, I really don't know if we're going to be playing this game for months on end. I think another thing we have to consider is that because this is going to be a live service, they've talked about how they're going to be continuously updating the game with more content, like raids, for example. But what we don't really know yet is how frequent these updates are going to be or how substantial they're going to be. What does it mean to be a live service? Does that mean every couple of weeks? Does it mean every couple of months? Does it depend on the success of the game? If it flops, are they just going to drop it entirely? We don't really know at this point. And so all in all, while I'm still very excited to get my hands on Anthem, I just really enjoy these kinds of video games, I'm really hopeful that the list that we've seen so far is only the tip of the iceberg of what kind of content that we can expect, especially for the end game. The next question comes from Adam, and it is, what do you think of an operator with a bipod? It would work like in Battlefield 1, providing little to no recoil. So this is an idea that I hear every once in a while, and it's usually with respect to Tachanka. A lot of people, of course, want Tachanka to be viable, and one way people would like to go about it is by providing him access to a bipod. So instead of being positioned on a turret, where of course it's very obvious where you are, you could be positioned anywhere on the map, quickly deploy it, and then you have the accuracy, of course, of that cool new gadget. The only problem of this, though, and it's a big one, is that you still are stationary. The problem with his turret isn't the fact that it's bad. It does good damage in some situations, very select select situations, it can get the job done and be the thing that wins you the round, but because you are stationary, it leaves you very vulnerable. And so while being able to bipod, like this new operator, might give you a bit more mobility. If you get droned out, you can quickly unbipod your weapon and then find a new position. Like, that might be okay, but it still is going to have the downside that you have to stand still, you have to be in one spot if you want to take advantage of it, and honestly, a lot of weapons in this game already don't really have a whole lot of recoil to begin with. And so I don't really know if this is something that I would want to see introduced for that very reason. And while maybe this would be halfway decent if it did get the Tachanka treatment where they put a shield at the end of his weapon, but really, do we want to have more shields like this introduced in the game? Do we want to have kind of another Blackbeard situation? And so all in all, I just don't think that this is necessary. I know that some people really like it, some people would especially like this for Tachanka, but I think that there would be better ways of introducing new operators, but of course that is just my 2 cents. But yeah guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you looking forward to the Year 4 roadmap? What kind of content would you like to see introduced with the upcoming seasons? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time guys, have a good one and take it easy.